get some analysis now, and let's bring in Sandile Swana, political analyst, on the fortunes of COPE. Is this the end of COPE?
Well, let's say it's a significant turning point, no question about it. When you read the statistics of how COPE started on a very high note and immediately went into decline. Today, COPE is a party of no consequence. Lekota, in the main, has not been able to grow party support. He's not been able to maintain party support. He's not been able to grow party support. The party is in decline under his leadership. He started with divisions against Mbazima Shilowa. He's continuing those divisions against Willie Madisha now and Bloom. These are old UDF comrades that he came with from the mass democratic movement and so on and so forth. So it's the sunset certainly for Lekota. As to whether the other faction can come up with more creative ideas of building support for COPE remains to be seen.
What we witnessed earlier in Boksburg, was it a long time coming? I'm asking this, Sandile, because on Monday I interviewed Willie Madisha, who said to us here on eNCA that the national leadership of COPE has suspended the president because, among other accusations, they say he's dividing the party and he's supporting corruption.
Yes, this has been a long time coming because if you look into it, by the beginning of this month, a month ago actually, they had already there were already calls for, in many ways, for Lekota to step down. Dennis Bloom and others went to see him and asked him to step down. Lekota, being Lekota, refused to step down, just like Mugabe before him, announcing that he's as fit as a fiddle, when in fact the results are showing that it doesn't have the creativity, the energy and the dynamism to build a party that is a winning party.
Yeah, now if you look at the fortunes, the reason I started asking, is this the end? Because of the internal fighting which we saw being illustrated with the fisticuffs in Boksburg a little bit earlier today, the party which you've mentioned had a better start when it came about in 2008. In the 2009 election, securing 30 seats in parliament. Today, they only have 2 MPs in the National Assembly. And at the local government level, at its heydays in 2011, they had over 260 councillors across the thing. And today, they've got 13 from last November's local government elections. They don't seem to have structures on the ground. We hear a lot about interim structures, and Mr. Lekota there earlier talking about traveling around the country, meeting different people. Mr. Madisha telling me that he's meeting people who are not members of COPE.
Yeah, I think that, let's say for now, that the COPE under the leadership of Lekota is on an accelerated decline. I mean, it is on a steep downward slope, slippery slope to extinction. The only question that would remain is whether Madisha, Bloom and company can do anything better than Lekota. Otherwise, the numbers that you have cited show clearly that not only is Lekota, if it is true at all, on his deathbed, but certainly COPE is actually on his deathbed, because politics, electoral politics, is about how many seats do you get in the municipal councils, how many seats do you get in the National Assembly, and so on and so forth. And Lekota, that has not been his strength from the start. It has never been his strength. He got support from people who were totally dismayed with the firing of Thabo Mbeki and the Polokwane Brigade and all that. But he could not sustain it. He has not been able to sustain it, and he's not been able to build structures and maintain robust structures. He's talked about so many vacancies under his leadership.
So why would he be sticking literally to that chair when his own party, according to what we're hearing in terms of its constitutional structure, its Congress National Committee meeting last Sunday, suspending him and going, as you've said, the likes of Dennis Bloom to engage with him, but he's refusing. I mean, what should we make of that kind of behavior, Sandile?
This is the difficulty. It has been a difficulty across Africa where a leader just gets a seat and he holds on for life. It has been, unfortunately, a tendency that we've seen even in the likes of Olomisa, the likes of Buthelezi, whereby the whole thing becomes a personal pet project. There are no technical or competency grounds or performance grounds that qualify Lekota, Terra Lekota, to stay in office. Lekota is a spent force. The numbers point to that. He can only hold on to power for selfish reasons. Let's forget about him saying that corruption is about money only. Corruption is not about money only. It's also about abuse of office and other things. And I'm disinclined to say he stole money. I don't think that's necessarily the issue here. The issue would be him abusing his office as the president of COPE.
Yeah, so finally, Sandile, just as we wrap very quickly, 2024 elections are coming up. COPE came onto the stage of South Africa's electoral politics with a huge bang in 2008 as they marched out of the ANC following the election of Jacob Gedleyihlekisa Zuma as the president in Polokwane, December 2007. Its fortunes now have dwindled and they've got worse and worse. What do you think will happen between now and 2024 to COPE?
I think unless a miracle happens, COPE is a spent force. The votes are more likely to go to the likes of Action SA and EFF. I think COPE, for its part, I think it has played its role in history. Right now, it is headed towards the graveyard.
Thank you very much for your insights and time this hour. That's political analyst Sandile Swana.